Hello guys, what is happening and welcome to this video. So in today's video we are talking about how governments, your Western governments are exploiting Ukraine for their own political gain and how the World Economic Forum plays into this. So before we get started guys, please hit that like button, please subscribe to my channel. Email me marketmaniacanada@gmail.com so we can stay in touch in case we get censored. Anyway guys, without further ado, let's do this, let's go! Alright guys, welcome back, and first of all I apologize for the lighting. We're not professionals here, but let's do this guys. Seize a crisis, as the World Economic Forum says. So what are they planning right now? So the Ukraine war is at the center of everything that we hear in the media and from our governments right now.
He says Canada has become a leader in providing support, but Ukraine needs more, from additional sanctions to securing a no-fly zone.
And it's all changed and flipped on a dime, hasn't it? It's gone from everybody talking about the cerveza sickness to everybody talking about the Ukraine. Our governments are using the situation in Ukraine for their own political gain, and the World Economic Forum is loving it, and they play into this as well, and we're going to discuss it right now. So let's go through it. First of all, who suffers? Everybody, apart from the elite. You, me, everybody suffers, because we will feel the sanctions through inflation, grocery prices, and everything else. Now, that doesn't compare to what is happening in places like Ukraine and Russia. The people of Ukraine and Russia are the ones which my thoughts are with. The people who don't support war, those are the ones that I back. And I just believe that in this situation, I just want to be very clear, because I know this is a highly emotional topic, that I am anti-war. That doesn't just go for Ukraine, that goes for other conflicts like Yemen, where our governments are collaborating to help kill innocent civilians. So the hypocrisy is unreal in this situation, but they're using it for obvious reasons, I think. So the Ukraine war, let's first of all talk about the World Economic Forum. What do they want out of this? Digital ID? They're using propaganda. They've effectively used propaganda very well to suddenly turn the narrative from the cerveza sickness to the war in Ukraine. The cerveza sickness is forgotten about. Remember the Freedom Convoy 2022? There's actually a convoy that's happening in the US right now. It's gained little to no media attention whatsoever, and the Freedom Convoy in Canada is completely forgotten about for most people. And that's exactly what they wanted to happen, because now Trudeau has almost got a reset. I even saw and tweeted out, and you can follow me on Twitter, MarketManiaCA if you want, a sickening news article from CTV News, which showed that polls, effectively by not a very good poll source, but the polls by Nanos Research showed that effectively the Ukraine war had been a political reset for Trudeau. And that is exactly what Trudeau wanted. Now, Trudeau, we know, is the West's leader of World Economic Forum interests. I mean, just look at who the Deputy Prime Minister is, Chrystia Freeland. Just look who backs all their bills through, even though they've got a minority government. It's Jagmeet Singh, who is another young global leader of the World Economic Forum. So Trudeau says, stop the illegal war, and just a month ago, it was stop the illegal blockades. And the irony of this whole situation is Russia was arresting peaceful protesters And I'm sure that everybody could agree that that was wrong, yet Canada, just a couple of weeks before that, was doing the same thing. So Boris and Biden also being played off by Trudeau. I think that Trudeau is using his leverage in the World Economic Forum, and he is using Biden and Boris to also step up this narrative and put pressure on them as allies to do something about it. Because Trudeau, I really believe, is the center to the World Economic Forum's interests within Western governments. And we can't forget his sidekick, Freeland. She is also an actual World Economic Forum trustee, and it is just absolutely insane. But anyway, digital ID, propaganda, censorship, and surveillance. Those are the things that the World Economic Forum is going to aim to get out of this. They're already talking about censorship. And once they start to talk about it, once it starts to enter the mainstream media narrative, you know there's an interest that they want to do it. Surveillance will also be stepped up. They will say it's for our safety and everything like that. We need to make sure that everybody is going with the narrative that they want, essentially. Propaganda is rife anyway, but it has been used effectively, unfortunately. I don't want to admit that, but it has been. And digital IDs also rope into surveillance here. A good time to introduce an ID system in such uncertain times. It will be an effective tool. Can you imagine Justin Trudeau saying something like that?
Countries around the world to say, no, this is a moment to stand for democracy, against disinformation, misinformation, propaganda, and to stay true to these values that have led to respect and prosperity around the world.
The resolution to this whole thing could be just this. NATO declares it will not admit Ukraine ever. That could possibly end this war right here, right now. So why don't the politicians want to do that? The thing is, if you look at the history of NATO, you have to argue the fact that NATO has overstepped what it was meant to do in the first place. And you have to argue that NATO has also made this conflict even worse. So the thing is, if NATO declared that it will not admit Ukraine into NATO, that could be used to essentially stop all the bloodshed, the conflict, and everything like that. But they don't want to do that. Why don't they want to do that? The military-industrial complex is also at play here, and I haven't put it on the board, but it gets a lot more complicated than that. But they've effectively used this propaganda to create amnesia. It's like that convoy never existed. And it is just insane to me that all of this is happening and everybody has just forgotten about the events of the past couple of months in our own democracies. Yet it really annoys me that we have our leaders up on stage saying we are fighting for democracy.
This is a moment to stand for democracy.
I mean, that is such hypocrisy. It drives me absolutely nuts. And the interference of the World Economic Forum using Trudeau and Freeland to manipulate and influence other leaders is going to become apparent through this. There's going to be a collaboration because everybody can agree on one thing, and it's that the Ukraine war conflict is a bad thing. And when they agree on one thing collectively, such as that, then that allows them to do and instigate these different things. And you know, it's happened before. After 2001 and September 11th, there was many different things that were enacted as a result of that, which both were said to be for the safety of the people, but actually just went over their freedoms and their liberties. And that is what we have to rise for. So the thing is, guys, I didn't want this to be a really complicated video or anything like that. But basically, the events that have happened over the past couple of months have really just hammered it home for me how our democracies here are falling apart and our governments are starting to use propaganda effectively and influence people beyond what I thought they would ever be able to do. And it's almost like that black spot where Justin Trudeau enacted the Emergencies Act and called on essentially powers that went and undermined the Canadian Constitution for the sake of a peaceful protest. And everybody has forgotten about that and forgotten about essentially political prisoners that were held for weeks and weeks on end on charges of mischief. And this is the primary concern that I have about countries like Canada, the United States, the European Union, and the UK. These countries are collaborating to destroy freedom and liberty whilst they tell you that they are fighting for your freedom and liberty. And this isn't a conspiracy theory, guys. You can just go back through history and see how every crisis, they have seized the crisis for their own gain, be it political gain or be it power and control. So anyway, guys, please smash the hell out of that like button if you enjoyed this video, and I will see you in the next video. Take care of yourselves. Peace and love. Bye-bye.